Hello everyone and welcome along to your Sunday night edition of the TII podcast. My name is Craig Dennett and I am your host this Sunday evening, where Rangers have actually recorded 3 full points from a single league match for the first time this season. So we're all absolutely buzzing off the back of that. And I'm joined tonight by Tommy and Hef to look back over the game, but also the big talking points around it, around the club, around everything that's going on with Rangers at this moment in time. I'll start with yourself, Tommy. How you doing?
I'm okay. Happy that Rangers got the win. Probably not happy with the performance. But then my Sunday team got beat today as well, so he can't have it all. So it seems that either if Rangers win, we tend to lose, and if we win, Rangers I never get 2 wins in the same weekend. So maybe one weekend.
I hope you get relegated. We're also joined by Hef. How are you doing tonight, Hef?
Aye, not bad. Mixed day today. Today would have been my dad's 63rd birthday, so had a wee meal last night at Ibrox to commemorate and put some flowers down and stuff like that. So, maybe he was shining down to get Max Ernst his goal in the 96th minute. Maybe he should shine down again to get rid of Martin as well.
Fingers crossed. I saw you post a picture on the group chat last night, and the pitch did look much better at Ibrox without any Rangers players on it at this moment in time. So, I hope it was a nice meal for you and your family. But Hef, starting with yourself. Tommy's given a wee bit of an initial view on the game there, but what is your overall feeling after winning 2-1 away to Livingston? And actually, I heard on the radio, just when I was listening to post-match stuff, that we haven't lost an away game since Boxing Day, 2024, which I think probably will shock quite a few people because it's been a dismal start to the season. But good to get 3 points on the board at what can be a difficult place to go.
I think that you could take away for saying, I heard Chris Boyd saying in the post-match saying that we can't, in one hand, batter them and say, we need 3 points, we need to learn how to fight ugly and scrape away and get the 3 points, and then on the other hand, beat them with a stick that says, but that's not good enough, we expect better. So I suppose on one hand, you've got to take the 3 points and be happy knowing that people do go to Livingston and it is a bit of it's a potential slip up, it's a bit of a banana skin of a pitch to go to and stuff. So we've struggled there in the past, so to go and get the win, I think it's more about the manner. Like we touched on it just before we started, but the fact that we started the game relatively well. Andy Halliday said as well on the post-match, saying that that's the most direct passes that we've had in the first half, which actually goes against basically everything that he'd done previously, and it was successful, and it looked as if we were the more attacking of the teams. And then when we come out in the second half, it looks as if we're holding out for that 1-0, as if the plan is to sneak out of there with a 1-0 win. And I just don't think he quite gets that we're not going to settle for that yet. And I don't know if that's just me that's sitting thinking that, but if you're 1-0 up and you've missed a penalty, you should be going out and killing the team. You've clearly got the quality there, go and dominate. But to leave it to so late, I mean, we saw it at St Mirren, we're chasing and we nearly get it. Same with Motherwell. I just think it shouldn't be so hard in these games to basically grind out these results, but I'm glad we did.
I think we found it hard though for years to grind out results in these games. I don't necessarily think that's a Russell Martin specific thing. I think we have found it. I mean, how apart from that one season under Gerrard during COVID, I think we found it hard to win these games consistently, and that's what we keep searching for in a manager, and we've yet to find it. So I think it's difficult to place that blame fully at the door of Russell Martin, but I think the manner of the performances, Hef, is just where we're really struggling, and we're not seeing any real building blocks that we can kind of grasp onto, I guess, at this stage.
It's that sense of seeing teams gone by, even if the team was struggling, you still had a spark, even if it was for a 10-game run or something. So Todd Cantwell, for example, in years gone by, he was somebody that at least he might turn a play and create something, or Scott Arfield might break through the lines and get a goal, or something. But there's not a single player, and Gassama maybe, that you would sit and go, right, give the ball to him, he'll take on a man. But I don't know, I think we're kind of killing him a wee bit as well. I think the stuffing's kind of been kicked out of him a wee bit, and I'd like to see him have the pressure taken off him by somebody else stepping up. But there's nobody like that you would sit and go, oh, Miofsky will score us a goal today, at least we can bank on that. But I don't know, it might just be that they're new, you know, a relatively new team and stuff like that. It might just take a bit to gel, but I don't see that spark like a Ryan Kent or something to just go, he'll nick inside and pass the ball. Morelos will score a goal, you know. There's just nothing of that in this team just now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Ultimately, the game should have been out of sight by half time, I think. James Tavernier gets the goal, misses the penalty, which I think is the one that really is the killer, because if you're 2-0 up at half time, you can just try and see the game out, although I wouldn't be confident about us doing so. You can still try and see the game out, and then unlucky again with the offside for Derek Cornelius's goal. But Tommy, I think one of the biggest things for me is that when we came out in that second half, we just looked like Hef said, we thought we'd done enough to win the game, and that was that. And we didn't create. We went back to just not creating any chances again, which is a real worry, a real concern. I mean, when you look at I say this, no offence to Livingston, but it naturally brings offence probably, I guess. But you should be creating chance after chance against Livingston, home or away, and we're not doing that. Why do you think that is, and how do we overcome it?
Well, I listened to Martin's presser with Sky after the game. He seemed to blame the pitch, saying that the pitch got sticky, his words, which is just excuses, really. I think that the second half, I think we were lucky we were playing Livingston, because they got the goal, and it kind of had that inevitability about Motherwell, that goal was going to come for them, because it felt like they were pushing for it, and we weren't really doing much at the other end of the pitch. So it did get to a stage round about the 60th minute where you think, we all know what's happening here. It's going to happen, and we shouldn't be feeling like that, you know. It shouldn't be an inevitability about it. But I don't know. I didn't like the second half at all. We're playing Livingston, you know, and I think if we're playing any other team that's in the top half of the league this season, I think we go on to get beat today as well. And the issue is the positions that Livingston were getting into, they didn't have the quality to then get the ball into the net, whereas teams that are higher up than Livingston will. So that's still a real concern for me defensively, how we are. And what I don't know if this is concerning or not, but what I noticed as well was I think it was around the 88th minute, Livingston actually subbed on 2 strikers. And I think actually one of them was for a midfield player, which you would think, Livingston playing Rangers, you would think, you know, especially Martindale, you would probably think we're happy with a draw against Rangers. But the way that we've been this season, the mentality now is totally switched, whereas Livingston are thinking, hold on a minute, we could actually get a winner against Rangers here. And I think from when they scored the goal on the 70th minute, there was 8 minutes added on, and probably from 70, probably until about 88, 89, I think they were still getting into better positions. And then when it hit kind of like the 90-minute mark, it looked like we were going to score. But we have to take that control a lot earlier and look as though we are going to score way before. I think we got so lucky. One chance, one goal kind of thing. But you can't leave it to the 90th minute to start to actually create the chances, because it's ultimately too late. Obviously, it wasn't today, but on other days, I fear that's going to be a defeat or more drop points. So I don't really know what went wrong, you know. Like I say, maybe, like you say, try to see out a win, you know what I mean, at 1-0 away to Livingston. I don't know. It was such a poor second half for me. I didn't enjoy it at all. You know what I mean, we're struggling with Stevie May, it seemed. You know what I mean? That's just...
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, see, you're talking about a better quality player. See the amount of times that Stevie May got through. Even Stevie May of years ago probably would have been in a better position to bury some of those chances. But I thought that, like, anybody else who's in a better form, they're burying at least 2 of those chances that he had. Yeah, some of them are glaring.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. We're seeing we're coming up against teams that we think we should be absolutely battering, that every metric under the sun suggests, whether it's how much you've paid for a player, what wages they're on, their experience, their past clubs, everything you look at suggests our full squad should be battering most of these teams, if not all of these teams, in the SPFL. And it's actually happening the other way around. We're getting bullied. They're not even being that physical against us. Livingston today, I guess traditionally Livingston have been quite a physical team, it looks like, and by all accounts they did kind of do a bit of a reset of style and formation and things like that when they went down to the Championship last year, and they're much less of a physical team this time around, and they're much more of a playing the ball in the deck and using pace around it. And I think we're getting beaten by teams who are just playing better football than we are, which is difficult to hear as well, Hef.
I was thinking about this earlier on because my mate's a Man United fan, and I was drawing a lot of similarities between the idea of like a manager with that amount of resources should be doing a lot better in the league that he is. They said like Brentford beat them 3-1, and it was just like hoofball. There was no great style to it or anything like that. And that's what I was saying about Martin's. The idea of it is that, like what you said, Craig, it's that idea of where we get so much more money in our squad. We've got so much money in the management and the coaching staff probably as well, and resources like analysis data. I know that Martindale always talks about the finances of what he puts in and as a club and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think what we need to get back to is scrap this idea of we need to have a style as a football club and make the style being the best way in which to get 3 points. I don't care what style it is that we play. I think once you start winning, people will get off their back. And I found myself, especially on Thursday night, I sat going, obviously there's been a few times since the start of the season, but none more so than Thursday. I just thought, I really, really don't see where it goes. I have no idea what it is that we're trying to do. And if it's not a secret that every team that we go to is generally going to sit with 10 men in the box, so it's the manager's job to come in and go, right, here's what I would do to try and draw some of those players out. Or we'll be absolutely dominant at set pieces so that when we get them, we'll kill them on that. We'll absolutely batter them at set pieces because that's the best way to make that inevitable, make that 10 men in the box inevitable. But I don't think I think we need to shy away from this idea of like, oh well, we need time. You know, we need to build the squad. It needs to get better. We need time. And I think people are getting more and more frustrated. Even like today, like we win the game and people are still calling for his head. Like, and even I actually felt bad for Max Ernst scoring the goal because it's that way where it's like he's going, yes, brilliant, this is me, I'm finally back and stuff, and everybody's going, aye, but we want rid of him. You shouldn't be on the park anyway. You can't win. Do you know what I mean? Like, poor guys up, the Rangers badge, and everybody's going, aye, get up, you should have been on a bench anyway. Like, you just feel bad. Like, it's that way where you feel like you can never be happy. You're just like, aye, I know, but that means we've got him for another couple of weeks, and you think, aye, well, if he's going to win, then who cares? I would be more upset if that ended up 1 each and we were having a conversation come Tuesday or Thursday on the podcast to say that he still was here. But I think that idea that he's got the 3 points, as we spoke about, he's won 2 games out of the last 3. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, do we need to be a bit more level-headed about it and take some of the sting out of it a wee bit? I don't know.
Part of the problem is at no point is it passing the eye test. At no point is it, are we looking at that going, oh, you know what, I can see we're getting there, or just the final pass isn't quite there, or we'll go up more solid defensively, and actually it's just it'll come going when we start clicking going forward. It's just none of that is there. We look all over the shop defensively, and we are just blunt in attack. We just have nothing going forward, and that's the worst combination you can probably have in football. Is you can't defend and you can't score. So that's probably it. I mean, Tommy Hef mentioned there about style of play, and just at the stage of almost pretty much not caring about a style of play at this moment. We just need to win. I think I listened to, I think I probably listened to more Talk Sport in the last couple of weeks than I have done ever in my life, but I think it was Simon Jordan had said, actually, you know what, Russell Martin's style of play isn't a cultural fit for Rangers and Rangers fans and what they expect. It wasn't really something I'd ever thought about in terms of us as a club and what we need and at this stage. And actually, we probably do just need to win for a few seasons, just win things, find a way to win the league. And actually how we do it doesn't really matter. Just find a way to do it and start doing it consistently. And then we can try and find a style. I kind of thought the two go in my head probably before up to Russell Martin. I've probably thought the two go hand in hand. Once you get a style, you'll start winning the league. Where do you stand on that and the thought of style versus cultural fit and just what we need at Rangers at this moment in time?
I think his style, the way that I picture it in my head, I can't see a way that just overnight one day clicks and we're good, you know. And we signed enough players for it to fit into his system the way that he wanted as well. So I don't even think he's got the excuse of coming out and going, we need another transfer window, another 2, another 3, we need to get this player in, that player in, we're still short in this area or whatever. I don't think this system works at all. I think Dundee was a good example of that. I feel the Dundee at home game, I feel they just kind of crowded the middle a lot. I don't think necessarily teams are playing really like deep the way that we would normally see. So yet again, probably teams have lost a lot of fear playing against Rangers. Like Livingston today, were actually playing a lot out from the back and building up the play. But Dundee at home just seemed to have really just break down the middle of the park, and we got absolutely nothing from it. We had to get a last minute penalty just for a draw. Style wise, going forward, like I watched. I watched Newcastle today against Arsenal, and I was impressed with Newcastle. Just not really like a style that they have, but just like a real desire and a real hunger to kind of get on top of teams and to kind of fight for every ball. And I know they got beat today, but they put in a good shift against Arsenal, I thought, and I quite liked what I saw from them as well. I just want us to win games, right? I don't care how it happens. But I think from what we have seen, he just cannot stick with whatever it is that he's serving up at the minute. You know, he can tweak it and he can add in little things here and there. I'm concerned. I feel like a lot of our chances that we get either directly come from Gassama or he's involved in it. If we got an injury to Gassama, I would be so concerned that we would really create little to nothing. Because I feel everything comes down him, almost to the point that if we are struggling, it seems like we're going in at halftime and saying, "Give ball to Gassama and we'll see what happens." But I think he needs to figure it out. I don't think he knows how, and that's obviously why I want rid of him. I think he is very one-dimensional. Obviously, the board somehow seem to think that it's going to click one day. Otherwise, he probably would be gone by now. But yeah, I just want us to win. I really don't care how, you know what I mean? Obviously today, I suppose I care a little bit because we did win and I'm still complaining, but I do just want to consistently see us win from now on. I'm not really bothered about this style, you know, and I don't care what it looks like going forward. Just be hard to beat and put the ball in the back of the net. That's the way that it should be at the moment. Just back to basics, really.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. Just a couple of comments coming in. Steve G says, winning football managers these days no longer have a style. They're all win at all costs. Pep-esque football died a while ago. Not even Pep plays this way anymore. Hugo Bear says, we need players who are aggressive, powerful and relentless. Hef, one of the things that can constantly frustrates me outside of John Suter generally being on the football park is just how slow we are when we're on the ball and just how one-dimensional we seem. The fact that we don't attack at pace, we let the opposition get back into their setup, and then we try and attack them rather than taking advantage of them being out of position. Tommy spoke a lot there about the fact that teams aren't really sitting back against us. They're coming out at us and they're coming to have a go, and then they can smell blood almost within that. And while that's not great from a Rangers perspective in terms of teams viewing us that way, it should actually give us a lot of opportunity in attack because there'll be a lot more space than we've seen in previous seasons, but I just think we're far too slow in being able to take advantage of that. Why do you think we do play so slowly? I heard, I think it was Stephen Craigan was speaking about the fact that was exactly the issue at Southampton as well, was that when Russell Martin was there, they just took so long on the ball that they were never able to catch teams out of position, or never able to take advantage on counter-attacks, and it feels like we're the exact same way.
Do you not remember at the start of the season when he was talking about in one of the press conferences saying that his identity, or the way in which he wants to do, is to draw teams in and then play the ball at the last minute. Like the centre-half should wait till the striker had pressed straight up, used their trigger, and then play it out, and then play round and into the middle of the park and go. I don't know if necessarily that would have been too hard of a code to crack anyway after the first 2 or 3 games that was the plan, but putting that out there, I felt as if it was like, right, okay, well, the strikers will just let the centre-halves have the ball as much as they want then. We'll not put that pressure on them necessarily, because if we don't break, there's no space in behind, and then it just stays static, and it will go for right back to centre-half to left-back, into Raskin, back to the centre-half, and you could see it. You could sit with your eyes shut and watch the game for the first half an hour of most games, because you know that that's just the way it's going to go. I would say, in terms of why, I would say that it's probably a mixture of a lack of confidence of players who are looking to get on the ball, to actually make decisive movements, to want to be on the ball, rather than you see some of the midfielders who are sat with like 3 men round about them screaming for the ball once it's been played. Now, you saw players like that when you played football yourself, that you would be like, you're an absolute cop-out. Like, you did not want the ball. Like, you are just looking to I was making a run there, and you think, aye, very good. Like, do that 5 seconds ago and you would have got the ball. Also, then there seems to be a lack of confidence in the player that's playing the ball to not want to give it away so cheaply, because we've been hammered with that in the past. So, John Souttar, if we're talking about a scenario, John Souttar's got the ball as the right centre-half. Magoma's out there, plenty of space, looking to receive the ball. It's a perfectly straightforward 20-yard pass, but he has to play it to Cornelius and then Magoma, and by that time the whole team have just shifted across and swamped it. So it's like man for man every single time. Magoma's got no option but to pass it back. See if they just skip a man, see if they just skip Cornelius out that equation, it just makes it so much quicker. And the times that we've done it, it's proven to be successful. I think that it might be, I don't know whether or not it's a fitness thing, or whether or not, or that level of intensity, can you play like that for 90 minutes? Maybe not. Can you expect the centre mids to kind of take the ball on the turn and press for 90 minutes? No, but it's you're talking maybe 5 minutes of play that you see that, and the rest of the time it's that turgid, slow stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Do you know what? See, when I've been at Ibrox, so Hef, do you know what's been annoying me? Like, see when it goes out for a goal kick for us or a throw-in, we want the ball so quickly. Like, ball boys are like, we're trying to rush ball boys to give us the ball to then slow the play down. I never understand that. Like, why are we trying to get the ball back so quickly just to do that kind of slow passage of play? Anytime I've been at Ibrox, I've noticed it, and it's annoyed me, because we've never really been like that quick to get it off the goal kicks and stuff like that.
Talking about goal kicks, that Jack Butland on Thursday, whoever told him that goal kick routine was let's get the centre half to pass it to Jack Butland for him to smash it right to their centre half's feet 4 times in a row like that. Who's told him that works? Somebody have a word.
Yeah, I don't think we figured out. I don't think we figured out much, to be fair, but definitely not how to play out from the back effectively against the press. I think I'm just going to go through, Tommy, some of Russell Martin's comments from after the game. A lot of them are just sound bites you hear after every game. I guess he said he's really proud of the players. I don't know why he's proud of the players after every single game. That winds me up. Felt we deserved to win. First half is the best we've been in terms of performances. We should have scored more goals. We lost control of the game early in the second half and couldn't get it back, which is a worry when it's Livingston that you're playing. The players aren't lacking in fight. The last 3 weeks we felt so together. The gap between the first and the second half today, though, is too big, and we need to learn from that. Again, I hate that professional footballers are having to learn consistently week after week. I mean, that's been 10 weeks or so now that I've been learning. My feeling is we were less aggressive with the ball. We didn't move enough in that second half, and the opposition got more aggressive at the same time, and that led to the performance that was. The win means the world to me. This job means the world to all of us. I'm so happy for the players. We need to. He was asked, how does he get the fans back on side? He said we need to win a lot to get the fans back on side. That's the only way that it can be done. I'm fortunate that I have a high capacity for stress, but we really do need to make it much less stressful by winning. We really need to kick on after that. What do you make of those comments?
I think you could probably put side by side the same comments he's probably put every week, you know. I feel like, you know, that kind of thing with Tav, with the disappointed thing, which became a bit of a routine for him to say. I feel like that's going to happen with Martin. We need to learn from it, because I feel like we've heard that either that or that won't happen again, or, you know, we won't play this bad again and then proceed to play bad again. So his comments are obviously, these guys are media trained, you know, they are going to say the same thing. They are going to spin it in ways that kind of look semi-positive. In terms of the fan comment, I think he's so far away from having the fans on side, because even if we do start to pick up a few wins, he's always just that one defeat, one draw away from just back to where he is. So I think we need to start winning comfortably. I think we need to start winning by maybe bigger margins rather than scrappy wins away to Livingston. But to come out and say that was our best 45 of the season, we're 6 games into the league and it was Livingston away. I mean, if you said that to me at the start of the season, that would be our best 45, I would not be looking forward to what was about to come. So I get he's got to spin it positively, but he's hardly going to come out and say the truth, really, in terms of what he really thinks, is it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Hef, just in terms of the fans, Tommy said that he felt that we need to start winning more comprehensively for that to be the case. I think he's completely right in terms of fans are just sitting waiting for that next slip up. When it's not like, even if we won 5 games in a row, we'd still be waiting for just a draw or a defeat, and then everyone, the pressure would be back on. I was trying to think earlier what would potentially buy him some time. I actually thought, Eddie, had we beaten Hibs, beat Genk, and then won today, that would maybe bought him a bit of time. Now he's won the 2 domestic games, and Thursday night was Thursday night. Whether how much the red card had an impact versus how we're actually going to perform anyway, I'm not entirely sure. But he's won 2 out of the 3 of those, and it doesn't feel like that pressure's lifted. We're in the semi-final of the League Cup. Do you think it would take something as, I don't want to say dramatic, but as something like winning the League Cup to just buy him a bit of time? Is it something like that it's going to take?
I think you have to do something that's like out of the expected. Like anything that's like, if he goes and wins today, that's the expectation. I think that the next few games that we've got, we're expected to win. That's just a given. If he doesn't do that, then the pressure is from the fans will always be on him. I think he does need to go and do something where it's like, maybe it's not an absolute shooty in that we should be winning the game, you know, like Sturmgrass away, something like that, where you think, right, okay, decent team. If we went out and actually put in a solid Leon away-esque performance and hammered them 3-0 or something really convincingly, I think that would be enough for people to say, right, okay, fair enough, there is something there. You know, as you said earlier, Craig, it's that like clinging on to something. There's nothing really to cling on to. Everything that we're looking at is we hope we get better. We hope that things might change. We hope that they become less anxious. We hope that they find other activities to do on Monday afternoons. Like, these are just things that we're not seeing. Oh well, actually, it could get better. You know, like, and I think if he wins that, if he's still in the job, I think if he wins on that League Cup semi-final, I think it will do him a lot of good. But I think he needs to do what's expected of him between now and then to still have anything of any sort of credibility, because what would be even more embarrassing would be, and I don't really think it would ever come to this, so I hope it wouldn't, but for us to be playing in a League Cup semi-final against our biggest rivals and the stadium's half empty on our end because we are that depleted, like we are that embarrassed by how things are going, that we are saying that, sorry, enough's enough. And I don't think it's too far away from that. Like, if it came to the point that we hadn't won today, we then went on, get beat away against Sturm Graz, and then another poor couple of results in the league, I think it would be the case that fans, like they have already, protesting, would start to boycott and start to hand back tickets, and that would be ultimately, more than anything, just an absolute killer for any sort of pride of what we are as a football club.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we're a long way, to be fair, from a half-empty Rangers end at Hampden for a game against Celtic. But it's interesting to see just how many people have started to step away from those additional matches, games like Thursday night, for example, where I think the official attendance was under 30k. And we saw Hibs last week as well in the Cup, a game which everyone would normally be up for and would normally be pretty close to a sellout, if not a sellout. And it again was, I think it was 34,000 was the attendance roughly for that one. So we're already seeing it, which is, it even catches me by surprise just how quickly that's happened, because we're only 6 games into the league season and I don't think I've quite seen it fall apart just as quickly as it has so far. In terms of where the pressure lies, Tommy, at what point does the pressure, or has it already moved from Russell Martin onto the likes of Kevin Thelwell, Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marathi? Like, at what point does the pressure really start to ramp up on them? Because ultimately those guys are the decision makers, but they are, by all accounts, from noises that you hear, just from, like, in terms of the amount of backing they're giving Russell Martin, in terms of the amount of times they come out and give him votes of confidence, but not the dreaded vote of confidence that you get sacked the next day, but actual votes of confidence. Like, it seems like they are almost oblivious to the noise that's going on amongst fans at the moment.
And I actually think that if we drop points today, he still wouldn't have went. I still don't think they would have got rid of him. So I think we are sticking out with him no matter what. But I think you can already see a little bit of that going towards kind of Patrick's shirt. I know when the Union Bears were doing their kind of protest at the game, the kind of banners that were up were for Martin and Patrick Stewart as well. So I think it has, but we kind of touched on it on the pod last Sunday as well, in terms of, did they just not want to admit that they got it wrong? But then we're kind of thinking with Andrew Kavanagh, he's a smart businessman, let's be fair. So he's going to kind of take the approach of let the dust settle before we kind of make a decision, not making a decision in the heat of the moment, which is fine. You know, he's got a lot more money than me, so I'm sure he's a lot more sensible than me as well. But I don't know, because he's back to America now, isn't he? So I feel, I don't know what kind of talks they've had, you know, because surely at some point they have to be saying to Martin, right, we're going to stick with you, but one more defeat and that's it. You know, do you think that kind of conversation could happen, you know, where they are saying to him, you need to win to stay in your job, you've got one more game, you've got this, you've got that, you have to win or else? I don't know if these kind of conversations will be going on. I really would love to know.
It doesn't sound like there is. I mean, I think
Nah.
From my understanding, they've met with Russell Martin after each of the last few games that they've been here, sat and had discussions with him. He's leaving those meetings full of confidence that he's got the backing. I think he was asked a question today around how confident he was that backing would continue, and he was like, it's not even come into my head that it wouldn't, which says it all to me around the types of discussions they must be having. And I have to agree with you around, I don't think he would have been sacked had we lost today.
I remember when we got beat off in the Cup come on, obviously, and everybody kind of thought he should have went after that game. And I think we maybe tweeted kind of support tweet, but I think within the tweet it did kind of say we are aware that results have to improve, but we've not really had anything like that come from the club about Russell Martin. We've not really acknowledged it, I know the fan advisory board obviously met with Patrick Stewart and that, but we've not actually had kind of public comms about it, that we're sticking with him, things need to improve, so I would love to know what kind of conversations they are having, and for Andrew Kavanagh, what he sees, for Patrick Stewart, what they see in this. Like, I would love to actually fully know their thoughts on it, because like I say, surely it's getting to the stage where you've got one more chance here, like we can't continue this way, but it seems that we can, because we are, so.
Yeah, I think we'd all love to know the thoughts of Andrew Kavanagh and the people on the board. Hef, Rangers on Tour says, do you think they feel the last owners would buckle at fan pressure, so now they're wanting to stand resolute in their decision and would be turned by the fans? Do you think that's a factor in terms of they've seen how we've operated before and how much influence fan pressure would have beforehand? Albeit I don't think it had necessarily an instant impact every time, but I think it eventually wore people down and eventually the decision would be made. But do you think that's a case in terms of actually they're just like, we've just come into this club, we're not going to bow to fan pressure, because then they think anytime something goes wrong or anything they don't like, they can just dial up the pressure and we'll make that change and we'll be forced into that? And do you think they're just sticking by their decision, almost doubling down on it at this stage is part of it?
I think there is probably a point in that. There is, like, from a business point of view, it can't be good for boards and for financial purposes to hire a man on a particularly length of contract to then pay him out the full deal before even a full year or even 6 months of that deal's even started. So from a business point of view, I would argue that there probably is a bit of no, this is the way that we run clubs now, and this isn't our first rodeo. We've had experience with it across the world, and this is what we're doing, and you're just going to have to bide your time. I would like to know, I was actually talking to this about my brother the other day, and we were saying that there doesn't seem to be like an idea of like get Martin out. Actually, do you know what? We're not going to get Martin out. Well, get Stewart out then. And you think, well,
get somebody out.
Get me out then. Can you buy me out? But I think there seems to be a problem in that we don't really know who does what. Like, is Thelwell the problem? Is it everybody talks about like the signing of Chermiti, but is he at fault for recruitment? Is he at fault for individual players that haven't necessarily gone well, whereas Martin is to be praised for the fact that he's brought in players despite Thelwell, that's the difficulty, is none of us know. And I suppose our job isn't really to know. Our job is just to kind of speculate on it and talk about what we feel it is. But I don't know who's to blame, because it's a pyramid scheme, and you would look at the top and go, right, well, he employs him and he employs him, and then he works for him and that. But I think the problem is we're not talking about that. If this is going well, we're only talking about it because it's going so badly just now that it just seems as if there's like a barrier to, you go, right, okay, well, Martin, the tactics aren't good, that's him. But then Thelwell comes out and says, yeah, but it's a whole, I'm the sporting director and we're doing this at youth level and we're doing it. And so you go, right, well, I don't want the youth team to be playing that tactics either, so you're to blame. And that's the owners aren't going to come in and put in so much money into the squad and the management and the coaching staff and everything else that Martin's probably asked for on the training pitch to then wipe all of that out and have another manager come in and say, well, your last guy got 30 odd million to spend. Am I getting that? Because otherwise, it sets a bad precedent. So yeah. I think the guy who said that comment is probably bang on the money. There is probably a part of that, but the club was run so poorly before. I think the fact that like the way in which it was all running and stuff, it just seemed as if when these guys came in that it was like we were expecting it to be a knight shining through and going to rescue Rangers from some sort of turmoil that we were in, and I think that there's a realistic part of you that says that money doesn't just fix everything. You know, it's got to be embedded, and it's going to take time. And we'll probably find out more about it in 30 years when Andrew Kavanagh does an interview with Sky or releases a book about it like we have with Murray. But I don't think we're ever going to know, and I don't think it's really our job to know. But I think we have when it's going so badly, and we can see that people are asking for change. We're actually holding meetings about like what Tommy was saying, the fan advisory board, and they're coming out after it saying we do not think that this is going to go well, and they just go, well, that's great, cheers. Like that kind of leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth to think, right, okay, yeah, that's great, that's what you think, but give us £500 next year for your season ticket and all your European tickets and everything else, and fans travelling from all over to come and see us. Just keep doing that, but we'll just not really take any sort of head or even give clarity. We're not saying that we expect him to go and just sack Martin tomorrow because loads of people have been angry about it, but at least come out and give some sort of indication to say, right, well, okay, what are the problems that you feel at the club? And then put some sort of accountability to that. I think people would probably feel a bit more refreshed to hear that, well, do you know what, actually, hands up. We maybe did, we should have acted a bit quicker in the window and not been chasing players at the tail end. You know, I don't know. Do you think that's actually realistic to have happened, Craig, or do you think that, I mean, I know that they're not going to come out with their hands up and saying, well, we got it wrong, but if somebody came out and just said, yeah, we made a bit of an arse of it there in the transfer window to not get in some of the bigger marquee players early doors and get fans excited and get them in the door early, that I think that probably would appease fans a little bit to say, right, okay, rather than just coming out and saying things like, that is what it is, and you're just to be happy with that, you know, that just makes you think, right, well, you don't care, and we all do. And to then come out and say, oh, this means the world to me, you go, just stop. Like, just be one or the other, care or don't care, but stop turning us inside out as if we're all daft guys. Like, we're sitting...
I think in terms of would I expect them to come out, I think that's what they did with the Kevin Thelwell interview on the back of the transfer window, I think, or at least that's what they were trying to do. I think they were trying to come out and go, well, look, here's how we approached it. Here's why we went for predominantly English-based transfers. Here's areas that we think we think was right. Here's areas we're going to improve in terms of expanding the scouting network, in terms of expanding the leagues and the countries in which we're looking for value. So I think they tried to do that a little bit. It kind of touches on your point, I guess, earlier on when you were saying, I don't know if it's our job to know it or not. I think as a fan base, because of what's happened in the last 10, 15 years, we're more involved in the detail of our club and every single thing that's going on and trying to work out who's doing what and who's got responsibility for this and that than so many other clubs in the world are. I mean, so many other clubs might know one board member, maybe two, but they won't know them all. And they might know their sporting director, but they won't know the names of every person underneath their sporting director. And I think it's a good thing and a bad thing for us to be that interested in the club, I think, and to have that level of knowledge and understanding, because it's good in terms of you're putting scrutiny on the right people, you're putting every part of the club under scrutiny to try and make it a success, but also brings with it a lot of pressure for those people and those individuals in those spaces. And CGM 55 says here, I think we have recruited well and poorly at the same time. Some good potential bought, but we should have bought proven players. Either way, we have better than what Russell Martin is getting out of them. I think that, and we can come on to some individual players in a second, but I think the one that sticks out for me at the moment is Asgard, in terms of, like, he's clearly a high potential player. You don't get into that Norway team without having something about you and without being a player of really good potential and already good quality, but we're not seeing that right now. And it's like, well, we're now then trying to figure out, right, whose fault isn't that we're not seeing that? Same can be said for Ant-Man. We saw how he played in his first game. He had 17 assists last year, and we're getting nothing from him. Like, we're getting absolutely nothing from him. We're getting 100% effort, but that's about it. We're not getting anything else. And it's like, well, where's the weakness coming from? Why is that happening? We're buying Gassama looks great on the left, but we played him on the right for 3 games where he did absolutely nothing. So why are we doing that? And then so you're just and Mikey Moore starting apart from today, starting every single game that we play and doing the square root of sweet FA. So it's like, well, what is going on? If we've got all these players that have all this potential and we're not getting one iota of potential out of them. I mean, Tommy, what do you have? It's kind of a long-winded roundabout rant.
What's the question? I think, like, to touch a little bit on what you were saying earlier there as well, like, I think back to like when I was like kind of back to maybe 2009-10. From my memory, obviously being a little bit younger then, obviously we were winning titles, but you're talking about like obviously who's to blame, and you've got this big list of people, and I kind of feel like back then when something got wrong, the only people that you would really blame is players or manager. But now in football, you see things like so many other people getting involved, you know, to the way it's assistant managers, they're the problem. Coaches, they can make or break you the way we thought Beale was a brilliant coach under Gerrard. You've now got set piece coaches that are in the game. Like I say, you would never really think of a sporting director back then thinking, oh, he needs to go, he's the problem. So there's so many things kind of micro scrutinized now from every level. And like you're saying, probably is a bad thing to have so much kind of insight into a club, because you are just constant. You're going to find somebody to blame eventually, aren't you? I'm surprised Big Broxy Bear's not had it yet. You know what I mean? We need to replace the mascot, you know, to start getting a win. In terms of recruitment, I'm not. I think we did go in. I think a lot of the scouting details that we would have had on these players would be kind of Championship and League One data. Even like Max Aarons comes from a Premier League team, the data that we'll have on him will probably mostly be kind of Championship data. So I think there's a lot of kind of signings like that even though they might be Premier League clubs like the Jig or whatever, the data that we have isn't Premier League kind of data. So it's hard. I don't. You've got a guy signing for somebody that has a specific style. I might be old school in that, but I think if Martin's got his own specific style, then why not identify players that you want to play and will fit into your position, rather than having some guy that, you know what I mean, has never played football, coached football, managed football, dictating because he's maybe looking at stats, you know. And like you say, there's more to stats because we can see on the eye test that things aren't really working, you know. You can throw stats into anybody's face and say, oh, this player's good because he's got an XG of whatever. Like, I like the concept of going back to old school management, you know, where it's like a manager knows how he wants to play and he knows who he wants to go out and get to get it. I've not really been too happy with the recruitment, especially with the money spent as well, you know. I think at the moment we've got a front three. You've got what, Chermiti at 8 million, Miovski 4.5-ish, and then you've got Danilo at 6. So you're looking at a good front three of 18 million there. Is there any goals in that front three? Is there a lot of goals to justify having an 18 million pound front three? I don't think so. You know, I think it's been pretty poor. There has been obviously the odd half decent signing, you know, but I think all in all, I think I'm pretty disappointed with it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And actually, the one player that you probably would put your money on scoring more than anyone in that list is Miovski, who was the cheapest one. So I do think Chermiti has shown a little bit here and there where you're like, okay, I can see you've got something about you, but I'm not sure that something is scoring goals, and that's badly what we need. Especially from a striker, if we're playing him as the lead one. Hef, what have you thought of? The ones I would want to pick out so far are Chermiti, Asgard, and Ant-Man. What have you thought of them so far? Because Chermiti's not really had that much game time, so it's hard to judge. But Asgard and Ant-Man, I think I was expecting much more from them, and I was actually quite excited by them when I saw that they were signing and how they were for their previous clubs, and it's just not materialised as yet.
I again, it's hard to talk about Chermiti because it's not even as if we can say, oh well, he did it at previous clubs, it'll come good. I think it's that we're going to be the team that he either doesn't make it at again, or this will be his breakthrough team. And if it is his breakthrough team, we'll get what we paid for him and then some, because of his physical profile and his age. If he starts scoring goals and doing well, then he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of people talk about that idea that there's not a lot of old school strikers that you get anymore. Big, strong, athletic, can get in the box and score with their head, with their feet. We struggled with Danilo for the start of the season up front for that very reason. I think if he does start to score goals, he looks like a very promising target that somebody would come in and buy him for and look to step him on again, much like Igaman or any of the other players that we've had of recent years that have looked like a kind of raw talent that they can work on. Asgard, I'm kind of in the point of view as I really don't know why we signed him. I don't doubt that he's a good player. I don't doubt that some of the times he's getting his technical ability is great. Like, you can see the way that he hits the ball, the way that he takes it on the touch and stuff. I think he looks like a right talent, but it's like we're buying a player to play as like a kind of off 10 striker kind of position, but we don't play with that. So why buy him? I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me as somebody who likes to put kind of like square pegs and square holes. It doesn't add up to me that we would have bought somebody to play in that position. And we've experienced it in years gone past with players who have been quality players that we just can't really get a tune out of. Like, if you think like even years and years ago with like Charlie Adam and players like that, you go, he was not anything special up here, and then goes and basically wins Blackpool promotion, goes and gets a deal with Liverpool. You think, wow, I never saw any signs of that when he was at Rangers. And there are so many, even you hear like Fabio Silva recently, I know he's just got a move to Dortmund. He's kind of, honestly, arguably the worst player that I have seen come with such
Did he go to Dortmund?
He's at Dortmund now.
Did he go to Dortmund? I didn't know that.
For 26 million or something like that.
Yeah. And where was he? Was it Las Palmas? Who was that last season?
Yeah, he was on loan there from Wolves, But I think even if you look at Danilo, Rangers apparently rejected a bid from Real Sociedad on the final day of the window for him.
Why?
I think that's
couldn't get a replacement.
Yeah, I think that's the question on everyone's lips. I'm not sure what the value of that bid was, but apparently rejected it and told him he was going to be a third choice striker for this season. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, I guess, come the January window. But yeah, I think there's so many question marks over so many different players. I'm going to get both your opinion on this. I'll start with you, Tommy. Thankfully, no longer near the relegation zone as we speak at this moment in time. I think we're up to 7th. I was actually just trying to check that just there, but I think we're up to 7th in the table, behind Kilmarnock on goal difference for getting into that. We're actually 8th, sorry. 8th in the table behind Kilmarnock on goal difference. Celtic currently 2nd in the league, 14 points, so 7 points behind them and 9 points behind Hearts. It's already a big task for us to get anywhere near that top 2. Now, I've seen a lot of people suggest that they think Hearts will be this season's Aberdeen of last season, where they get to a point and then they just start to fall apart. I think the factor that comes into that for me is Tony Bloom, and you don't know how much of an influence he's starting to have behind the scenes, and how much influence he's had on their recruitment to then influence that, and actually they could potentially make a more sustained run of it. But in terms of league position, I think a lot of Rangers fans, I've definitely given up any chance of really seeing success in the league if Russell Martin is still our manager. But in terms of the league and getting into any sort of title race or battle for second place, where are your thoughts and feelings at this stage?
The way that the first 6 games have went, for me, every single game has been a bottom 6 performance. We deserve to be where we are. Like, Celtic was a bottom 6 performance with a bit of fighting heart, but it was still for me a bottom 6 performance. I don't know. Inevitably, I think Hearts will have that drop off. I don't think they'll have it as sort of bad as what Aberdeen had it last season and kind of going into this season with Aberdeen as well. But I think Hearts potentially have to be something that we worry about in terms of top 2, yeah, but I think we will claw that back eventually. Celtic, I think, will drop points. I think they'll drop a lot of points. And is it just a case of, are we going to drop more? You know, at the start of the season, I really did think this would be the season that we cut down the kind of silly draws at Dundee and, you know, the odd defeat away to whoever, you know. And obviously, I kind of thought that about Russell Martin. I thought the way that he was talking, the way that he was going to set us up, the way that he sold us the dream was that, you know, we're gonna not drop silly points. I think the position that we're in just now is totally fair. Like, we deserve to be where we are. But going forward, I think we've got Falkirk next. I think it's Dundee United at home after that, and then I think Kilmarnock at home. Maybe is that the next free league?
Yeah. So our next run of games is Sturm Graz away on Thursday, Falkirk away next Sunday. Then get the international break. Dundee United at home when we come back from that. Dundee United have started the season pretty well. Brann away, and then Kilmarnock at home, followed by Hibs away. And
yeah, so
if
you're looking at just kind of league only there, like, I think the next 3, like, they have to, that has to be 9 points. You know, I don't know what their fixtures are or what Hearts fixtures are, but if we're looking at 7 points, are they playing each other?
Yeah.
I think before we go to Hibs away, if we can get a good, let us say, 3, well, we won today, so if we can go there on the back of 4 league wins in a row, like I say, we just need to see where we're at that point. You know, I think we're just at a stage now of just game by game. I don't think we can look too far ahead. I said the other week, we need to see where we are maybe come Christmas time, if we're close, if we're there or thereabouts. But I think now we just need to dumb it down week by week now and just and really just take it from there. I don't think we can really look too far ahead just because of the position that we're in, but we definitely deserve to be where we are, in my opinion.
Hef, same question to you. How do you feel about, I guess, current league position after today, and how close or far away we are from both Hearts and Celtic at the top of the league?
I think it's embarrassing. Like, to think that before today's win, we were in relegation zone. Like, that's horrendous. I've never experienced that in all my years of supporting Rangers. To even in the dark days of being down and coming back up, like, we were never that bad, and that was a team that was coming up from the Championship with half the funds. Like, I think it's just, it's sad. It's sad to care so much, but also just feel so deflated about it at the same time. But I do think it's fair. Like, you look at the performances on the pitch and you get why we're there, but it's just heartbreaking. You just think, sometimes you think, like that, you're going, oh, by the way, I think we're 7th or whatever, and then you go, no, actually we're 8th. Kick right in the stones. Brilliant.
Mate, we're lucky that Aberdeen have been the way that they are. We'd be rock bottom going into this weekend. So.
But that's the thing. It's like we were talking about earlier on. You look at the boy for Dundee United battling in the goals. Hearts have got like 2 or 3 players that, like, and you think, oh, brilliant! Like, you'd get them in if you did a fantasy team, you'd get them in. Who's picking a player for Rangers? Like, we're so bad just now. Like, so bad. And I think, and given in years gone by, you'd have probably went, aye, okay, we're bad, but, you know, we'll turn our tide. It's been a tough run of games. It's not been a tough run of games. I think, like, Hearts run, I think they play Hibs this weekend. I think it's Edinburgh Derby this weekend. And then you're right, you might be right in that they're playing Celtic again. There's every potential that the wheels fall off with them, and then that does open up some sort of race. But ultimately, we shouldn't be thinking about what other teams like that are doing. We should just be focusing on our own and getting the results. And right now, we are desperate for other teams to drop points so that we can scramble back up the hill. But I think it might just be a stretch too far just now for us to be thinking about winning the league or anything like that at current, the way that we're playing just now. But I'd like to see the tide change, definitely.
I think we'd all like to see the tide change, and I think it'll be really interesting as the season goes on if it becomes more and more, not obvious, I think, but if we end up looking like we're going to finish more likely to finish third than second, I think it'll be really interesting to watch what the owners do and how they try and change it. But definitely difficult to know if we could end up second, we could end up seventh. It's just genuinely no idea how this is going, because you feel like, because you're looking at other games, you're like, all right, okay, Hearts and Celtic might drop points here and there and there and there, but we're at risk of dropping points every game we play. So it's not like seasons gone by when you're like, okay, we'll win 95% of all games and that's pretty much guaranteed. It's far from that, and we don't need to get back to that and get back to that quickly. We're just past the hour mark, so I think we'll call it there. My thanks to Tommy and Hef for joining us tonight. My thank you to everyone for listening. If you've not subscribed already to TII YouTube channel, make sure you do. Helps us out massively and also means you won't miss out on any of the content we've got coming up. The guys will be back on Tuesday, starting to look ahead to Sturm Graz away in the Europa League, and start to look ahead to a couple of big games next week for Rangers as well. But my thanks to everyone for listening. Until next time, goodbye.